Don't eat food in these 7 Canadian restaurants, because some of them aren't just a little dirty. They're the kind of places that can turn a casual meal into a 2-day relationship with your bathroom. And look, this isn't about being dramatic. Canada has amazing food, but there's a darker side to the dining scene nobody talks about until it's too late. Restaurants that survive on vibes, branding, and the fact that most of us don't check inspection reports unless we're already sweating through our shirt at 3 a.m. Because here's the trap. A place can look clean, feel cozy, have a line out the door, and still be running a kitchen that would make a health inspector blink twice and reach for a pen like it's a weapon. And the scariest part is how normal it all feels in the moment. You're laughing, you're hungry, you're trusting the menu like it's a promise. And meanwhile, the back of house might be playing a completely different game. So in this video, we're exposing 7 Canadian restaurants you should seriously think twice about eating at. The patterns, the red flags, and the how is this even allowed moments people keep stumbling into. And stay until the end, because after the chaos, I'll give you 3 restaurants you can actually trust, the kind that don't rely on luck, shortcuts, or wishful thinking. Alright, let's talk about the places you really don't want to learn about the hard way. Number 7. Tim Hortons, Barrie, 181 Livingstone Street East. Let's start with the most Canadian thing possible. The I'll just grab something quick from Tim's. No one walks into Tim Hortons like they're entering a high-stakes dining experience. You walk in like a person with errands. You grab your coffee. You add a breakfast sandwich. You leave feeling like you survived the morning. That's what makes this one so unsettling, because it wasn't some mysterious rumor or my cousin said story. In June 2025, the Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit put out a public notice about a potential hepatitis A exposure linked to a food handler at the Tim Hortons at 181 Livingstone Street East in Barrie. It was serious enough that they advised certain customers to consider vaccination based on when they visited. Now here's the thing. Most people hear health unit notice and immediately imagine a kitchen that looks like a science experiment. But real life is scarier than that, because real life looks normal. It looks like a busy counter, a rushed lunch break, a drive-through line, a cashier calling out names. It looks like you on autopilot, because that's exactly how most of us buy food. And the truly creepy part is the delay. With something like this, you don't always get instant feedback from your body like, hey bestie, that was a mistake. Sometimes you hear the news later and your brain starts doing that haunted math. Wait, was I there last week? Was that the location? Was that the day I went twice? To be clear, the health unit said the risk to customers was low and there was no ongoing risk at the restaurant at the time of the notice good. But low risk is still not nothing happened. It's just the official way of saying most people are fine, but you don't want to be the unlucky exception who treated breakfast like a roulette spin. And if number 7 is the place you trusted because it's basically a habit, number 6 is worse, because it's the place people drive to on purpose, like it's a wholesome little day out. Number 6, Saskatoon Farm, Foothills County, Alberta. This one hurts people emotionally, because Saskatoon Farm isn't just a place you end up at, it's a destination. It's the kind of spot you take family to, the kind of place you recommend to friends visiting from out of town, the kind of place that feels so sunny and wholesome that your guard drops before you even sit down. And then Alberta Health Services had to basically say, hey, about that. On July 25th, 2025, Alberta Health Services issued an advisory about a gastrointestinal outbreak linked to the food facility within Saskatoon Farm in Foothills County. Based on testing at the time, it was presumed to involve E. coli and amoebiasis, and the advisory wasn't just for a tiny sliver of customers. It specifically mentioned people who consumed food, beverages, or water there during a defined window in July. And here's why this one hit so hard. This isn't a midnight, maybe I shouldn't have eaten there situation. This is a daylight, family-friendly, bakery smell in the air kind of place. People go there while feeling safe. People take photos there. People buy cute stuff there. Nobody sits at that table thinking, I should have brought a hazmat suit with my pie. But outbreaks don't care what the place looks like. They don't care how pretty the property is or how charming the menu sounds. If something goes wrong handling, water, contamination, a breakdown somewhere in the chain, you don't see it coming. You just live it afterward. And that's the nightmare part. The most dangerous restaurants aren't always the ones that feel sketchy. Sometimes they're the ones that feel comforting. Now, if number 6 is the kind of place that makes you say, wait, even there? Number 5 is the one that makes people even angrier because it's a polished, popular spot people pick when they're trying to be safe with their choice. Number 5, Earl's Kitchen and Bar, Toronto 601 King Street West. Earl's is the safe pick restaurant. First date? Earl's. Dinner with coworkers where you don't want to gamble on a weird menu? Earl's. Someone says, let's go somewhere nice but not too fancy, and the group chat basically auto-suggests it like a smartphone keyboard, which is why this one messes with people. In July 2025, Toronto Public Health issued a public advisory saying there was a confirmed case of hepatitis A in an employee at Earl's Kitchen plus Bar, King Street West, and encouraged diners who may have been exposed to get vaccinated as soon as possible. And I know what you're thinking. How does that even happen at a place like this. That's the point. Places like Earl's feel too put together for anything gross to be happening. The lighting is flattering, the menus are clean, the whole vibe says, relax, we're professionals. But food safety problems don't announce themselves with a siren. They're invisible. You can have a perfect night great service, great mood, great photos, and still be caught up in something you didn't sign up for. Also, there's a special kind of rage that comes from a situation like this because you didn't do anything reckless. You didn't eat gas station sushi. You didn't lick a subway pole. You went to a mainstream restaurant that people treat like a safe choice, and then you find out public health is doing damage control. And just like that, the safe pick becomes the wait, what pick. Next up, the list moves away from the big headline advisories and into the spots where the danger isn't always broadcast loudly. You only notice the pattern if you know what to look for. Number 4, Ho One Restaurant, Calgary's Chinatown. You know that late-night Chinatown craving? The one where you tell yourself, I deserve noodles, and suddenly you're walking into a little spot that's been there forever, neon glowing, windows steamed up, the whole comfort food movie montage. Ho Wan is that kind of place in Calgary, familiar, busy, and the exact kind of restaurant you'd never expect to be associated with the word infestation. But in January 2025, Alberta Health Services issued a closure order tied to what inspectors described as a significant German cockroach infestation at Ho Wan Restaurant. And listen, nobody wants to picture this while holding chopsticks, but that's kind of the point. Pests don't announce themselves with a drum roll. The dining room can look fine, the plates can come out hot, the sauce can still slap. Meanwhile, the problem is happening where you're not looking behind equipment, under counters, in the warm hidden corners where kitchens basically become 5-star resorts for anything with too many legs. City News reported that the closure notice listed things like cockroaches on glue boards and evidence throughout the facility, plus sanitation issues in hard-to-reach areas. That's not a "we saw one bug and freaked out" situation. That's the kind of sentence that makes you stop mid-bite and stare into the distance like you just remembered every meal you've ever eaten. Also, a fun little horror fact. German cockroaches usually prefer the dark, so when people start spotting them out in the open, it can signal a bigger population than anyone wants to admit in a working kitchen. What makes this one extra nasty is the psychology. People trust been around forever. We treat longevity like a cleanliness badge. If it's survived years in a busy neighborhood, we assume it must be doing something right. But longevity can also mean old infrastructure, tight spaces, and little problems that build up quietly until the inspector walks in and the story changes instantly. So, no, I'm not saying Chinatown food is unsafe. I'm saying the most dangerous thing in a restaurant can be the thing you can't see, because once you can see it, it's already a party. And if number 4 is the nightmare you can practically imagine crawling under the stove, number 3 is worse, because it's the nightmare you can't imagine at all until your body reminds you. Number 3, Rocky River Cafe, Perth, Ontario. After number 4, you might be thinking, okay, fine, bugs are gross, but at least I'd probably notice something. And that's the trap, because number 3 is the kind of situation where everything looks normal right up until it doesn't. Rocky River Cafe is the exact kind of place people stop at in a small Ontario town like Perth. Cozy, local, road trip friendly, the kind of cafe where you grab lunch, feel wholesome for supporting a local business, and then take a little walk like you're in a Hallmark movie. And food photos look Instagram perfect until they turn into a warning. But in July 2025, the Southeast Health Unit publicly said it was investigating an unusual number of salmonella cases potentially linked to people who ate at Rocky River Cafe on or around July 15, 2025, and asked anyone who became sick after dining there to contact them. And this is where salmonella is evil. It doesn't come with a warning label on the menu. Your sandwich doesn't taste suspicious. Your salad doesn't wave a tiny red flag. You finish your meal, you pay, you leave, and then hours later you're doing that slow, confused blink like, wait, why do I feel like my stomach is trying to escape my body? The health unit even put out a FAQ explaining what symptoms to watch for and how to report information for the investigation. Because when a situation gets serious enough for that, it's not just one person having a rough night. Now, to be fair, the story didn't end with forever unsafe. In August 2025, CHU said it completed its local investigation, conducted follow-up inspections, and was satisfied there was no ongoing source of salmonella infection related to the outbreak, and that the closure order was lifted. But here's the reason it still makes this list: the emotional whiplash. One week, it's a cute cafe stop. The next, public health is asking the community to help with a salmonella investigation. And once you've lived through even one "were we exposed" group chat, you realize how quickly a normal meal can turn into a mini crisis. So if number 3 is the reminder that small town cozy isn't the same thing as risk-free, number 2 is the reminder that even the sleek, modern, city-perfect spots can get shut down on the spot. Number 2, Padella, Toronto, 1967 Avenue Road. If number 3 is the kind of place you stumble into on a road trip, number 2 is the kind of place you pick on purpose because you want the safe choice. Modern Italian, date night lighting. A menu that makes everyone at the table nod like, yes, we're adults who eat pasta responsibly. That's why it stings when places like this get a bright red reality check. In late October 2025, Toronto health inspectors shut down Padella, an Italian eatery at 1967 Avenue Road after an inspection that racked up 8 infractions, including crucial ones, and resulted in a closed notice. And if you've never seen a Dine-Safe closed notice before, it's a special kind of humbling, because it's not a Yelp review, it's not a dramatic TikTok, it's the city basically saying, nope, not today. Toronto's Dine-Safe program is literally built to post inspection results like pass, conditional pass, or closed, so you don't have to guess what's going on behind the kitchen door. Here's where the human brain gets you though. We shop with our eyes, we trust shiny bathrooms, trendy plates, good signage, and the fact that the bar has those little hanging lights that make everyone look like they have their life together. But inspections don't grade the vibe, they grade the boring stuff, the stuff you never see unless you work there. Storage, temperatures, cleaning, pests, cross-contamination risks, the unglamorous details that decide whether your night ends with tiramisu or with regret. And crucial infractions are called crucial for a reason. They're not the napkins were messy kind. They're the this can actually make people sick kind. Imagine dragging your friends there, hyping up the pasta, and then you all walk up to the door and see that closed notice. Everyone goes quiet, and you're ordering shawarma. Now, could Padella fix issues and reopen? Absolutely. Closures can be temporary, and plenty of places clean up fast when inspectors get involved. But the reason it belongs at number 2 is the lesson. The places that feel safest can sometimes be the ones you question the least, which is exactly when you're most likely to miss the warning signs. And after this, we're heading to number 1. The restaurant on this list that doesn't just make you rethink one meal, it makes you rethink how you trust a brand at all. Number 1, Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen, Ontario locations. This one isn't a "my fries were cold" story. This is the kind of headline that makes you pause mid-bite and go, hold on, what did I just eat? In May 2025, an Ontario poultry supplier, ADP Direct Poultry Lad, filed a lawsuit alleging that some Popeyes franchisees sourced raw chicken from an unauthorized supplier operating out of residential garages, with claims about improper storage and transport, and chicken described in the claim as unsafe or even rotten or expired. To be crystal clear, these are allegations in court documents, not a proven verdict. But the mental image alone is enough to make anyone stare at their chicken sandwich like it's suddenly accusing them. And this is why it hits harder than a typical bad restaurant story. It's not about one cook having a terrible day. It's about the idea that the risk can live upstream before the food even touches a fryer. With a small restaurant, your trust lives in one kitchen. With a huge chain, your trust stretches into delivery schedules, storage rooms, supplier rules, and the invisible system you assume is locked down because the brand is everywhere. That's the sneaky part. As a customer, you can do everything right. You can pick a busy location. You can order fresh. You can see a clean dining room. And still, you're betting on things you will never see. Where the chicken came from, how it was handled, whether it stayed cold, and whether anybody cut corners because it was cheaper, faster, or nobody was watching. Popeyes has disputed the accusations, reporting citing the Globe, and Mail said the company found no evidence to support the claims. But even with pushback, the lesson stands. A famous logo is not a force field. So if Popeyes is in your rotation, don't switch off your brain. Notice the basics: the smell, the counters, the bathrooms, the vibe of the staff, and whether the place feels sharp or like it's barely holding itself together. When a chain slips, it doesn't ruin one meal. It can hijack your whole week. All right, deep breath. Because after 7 never again moments, you deserve some relief. The good news is, not every restaurant plays games, cuts corners, or hides behind branding. Some places are clean, consistent, and run like they actually respect your stomach. So next, I'm giving you 3 Canadian restaurants you can trust, the kind you can walk into without doing mental math and praying to the food gods. Good Restaurant 1, A&W Canada. After everything we just dragged through the mud, you deserve a place that feels boring in the best way. Not boring, like bland food boring, like predictable, standardized, and not secretly running the kitchen like a reality show called Who Wants to Risk It All. That's why A&W is a solid reset button. It's one of those chains that's everywhere: road trips, lunch breaks, post-gym, I earned this moments. And because it's everywhere, it has to run on systems, not vibes. The big trust signal here isn't a cute logo or a nostalgic jingle. It's the boring corporate stuff that actually actually matters: supplier controls, specs, compliance, and traceability. A&W has publicly discussed using an enterprise supplier and quality management system to keep tabs on suppliers, sites, product requirements, and food safety regulations in one place. Basically, a centralized don't let anything weird slip in dashboard for the supply chain. That's not the kind of thing a brand invests in for fun. It's what you build when you're trying to keep thousands of meals consistent across the country without rolling the dice. And here's the human part. When you walk into an A&W, you can usually feel the routine. The line moves, the kitchen rhythm is familiar, people know where things go. That consistency is underrated because chaos is where corners get cut. A chaotic kitchen is where temps get ignored. Sanitizer buckets mysteriously disappear, and someone says it's fine, even when it absolutely is not. Is A&W perfect? No restaurant is. Humans work there. Life happens. But if you want a mainstream, relatable option that's built around process, especially when you're hungry and you don't want to play detective, menu edition A&W is a safer bet than most. And here's a quick personal rule that works anywhere. Yes, even here. If the washroom looks like it lost a fight, the kitchen probably didn't win. If the dining room feels cared for, that care usually extends behind the scenes too. Now, if you want a Canadian comfort classic that's less drive-through and more sit-down, the next pick is basically the national bird of family dinners. Good restaurant too, Swiss Chalet. If A&W is the safe, predictable pit stop, Swiss Chalet is the we're eating out, but we're not trying to be fancy about it comfort zone. It's the place families default to, the place your parents suggest, the place you end up at when nobody wants to argue about where to go. And honestly, that kind of steady mainstream popularity can be a good sign because it forces consistency. Swiss Chalet is part of Recipe Unlimited, one of Canada's biggest restaurant groups, and their corporate responsibility reporting is pretty blunt about food safety. They say their food safety program and standards meet and often exceed regulatory minimum requirements. They also describe a structured program built around standard operating procedures and third-party food safety audits. That matters because the best kitchens aren't just clean today. They're built so clean is the default setting. SOPs mean there's a right way to do the boring stuff every single shift: holding temperatures, cooling, reheating, hand washing, sanitizing, storage separation. And third-party audits add another layer of pressure. It's harder to hide messy habits when someone from outside the building can show up and judge you on them. Also, Swiss Chalet doesn't rely on risky menu gimmicks. It's not a raw this or barely cook that kind of concept. It's a straightforward, high-volume operation, meaning it's designed to execute the same core items again and again. And in food safety, repetition is your friend. When a restaurant's whole identity is we do a million different things, that's when standards can start slipping. Here's the best part. In a lot of Canadian cities, inspection results are publicly searchable. Toronto's Dine Safe is a famous example, showing past conditional, past closed statuses for food establishments, so you don't have to guess. You can literally check. Swiss Chalet isn't magic, but as a popular, relatable chain backed by a large company with documented food safety standards and audit practices, it's the kind of place that usually doesn't surprise you in the worst way. And if you want a nice night out, option 1 that still has that Canada everywhere familiarity and Good Restaurant 3 is the steakhouse people choose when they want to celebrate without gambling. Good Restaurant 3, the Keg Steakhouse plus Bar. When people want a grown-up dinner in Canada, the Keg is the cheat code. It's where you go for birthdays, promotions, date nights, my parents are in town, or when you want to feel like you've got your life together, at least until dessert. And here's why it lands on the trust list. It's a big, established chain that lives in the world of repeatable standards. You don't scale a steakhouse brand across Canada by winging it. You scale it with training, checklists, and systems that are boring enough to actually work. Plus, we can point to something more concrete than vibes: public health inspection reporting. Many Canadian health units publish inspection results, including whether issues were found and whether they were corrected. For example, Niagara Region's public inspection records for a Keg location show routine inspections with outcomes like no issues found, and other items noted as corrected during inspection. Now, does one region's record guarantee every location is perfect forever? Of course not, but it shows you what normal operation looks like when a restaurant is under regular oversight. Inspections happen, problems, when they appear, are documented, and the public can see the results. And if you're in Toronto, the city's Dine Safe program lets you search inspection results for establishments by name and address, with past, conditional pass, closed outcomes, so you can check your exact location before you even leave the house. The Keg also tends to be a lower surprise factor restaurant. The menu isn't built around wild, high-risk stunts. The kitchen flow is structured. The staff is usually trained for consistency because the price point demands it. People complain loudly when you mess up a $40 steak, so standards get enforced fast. Here's the smart way to use this pick. Treat the Keg as your special occasion safe bet, but still do the 2-second reality check when you arrive. Clean washrooms, clean tables, staff staff moving with purpose instead of chaos, green flags. A place that looks like it's barely holding it together, that's when you pivot and save your appetite for somewhere else. So those are 3 places that in real-world Canada tend to be reliable. A&W for fast and consistent, Swiss Chalet for family comfort with big company safety standards, and the Keg for a polished night out with a track record you can actually look up. Here's the truth. A clean-looking restaurant can still be a gamble, and by the time you realize it, you've already paid. So don't eat on. Vibes. Look for the red flags. Trust the places that run tight, not the ones that run lucky. If this saved you from a never-again meal, send it to one friend who always says, "It'll be fine." Subscribe for more because the next list might include a place you're planning to eat at this weekend.